Your issue of repression could go back many, many years to your own childhood. A slight from your parents. An overlook from what was rightly yours. A brother or sister who treated you badly. Could be more recent, an injustice you perceive in some personal relationship. We'll deal with this, the psalmist is modeling for us by lifting your eyes to heaven, not by fixing your eye on the injustice of the human level. Practice a radical submission to God in this way. Charles Spurgeon puts it, we need not speak in prayer. A glance of the eye will do it for us. So in this looking up to God, we meet there not the eyes of another terrible dictator, but the God of justice and mercy, compassion and grace, who looks tenderly on his people. Perhaps there is some job that you feel should have been yours, some opportunity that you have been denied. Look to God about it. Sometimes, indeed, God's reply can be delayed. Martin Luther describes the right attitude to such delay of our cry for mercy like this. For in that he, that is God, defers his help. He does it not because he will not hear us, but to exercise and stir up our faith, and to teach us that the ways whereby he can and does deliver are so manifold and miraculous that we are never able to conceive them. Therefore, let us think that the thing which we ask is not denied, but deferred. Assure ourselves that we are not neglected because of this delay. Or perhaps all this seems rather small by comparison with the massive issues of justice, contempt and scorn and repression in our world today, of Libya and Egypt, Tunisia, of the millions starving. No prayer is small because prayer is directed to the God of all. My personal relationship with Jesus at a time of repression is the opportunity then to be changed by him and so to become what Gandhi called the change that you wish to see in the world. I like the African proverb which says that if you think you're too small to make a difference, try spending the night in a closed room with a mosquito. This is, if you like, a mosquito buzzing around the sun, making its way to God, crying out over and over again, mercy, would you have mercy? And in so doing, the psalmist, perhaps in that context of Nehemiah, is stopped from trying to take revenge, and so appear petty and pathetic and exposed as far less powerful than his adversaries, but instead goes to God, whose solution is far more powerful than any human crime. And so it is a prayer we can pray for ourselves in our own experiences of injustice. It's also a prayer we can pray for other people. For those who are suffering this kind of contempt, the hands of oppressors, that God would have mercy. There are many great temptations that come with being oppressed. We can make justice at a human level everywhere. We can take the gospel and turn it into a social action movement. We can, as T.S. Eliot said, end up doing the right thing for the wrong reason, which equals the last and greatest temptation. In the end, speculations about justice and our attempts to achieve it are always fraught with difficulties, for we are bargaining between two sinners, caught in a mesh of depravity, and what we need is justice on a God level, and therefore mercy from the hands of the living Lord. It is no small thing that Christians learn to plead for mercy and practice it as well, to embody the change they wish to see in the world. One young Jewish man 150 years ago grew up in Germany, and the life of the family centered on the synagogue. The family moved to another part of Germany, and one evening the father came home and announced that they were no longer attending the synagogue, but would start going to the Lutheran church. The young man was startled and asked why. It was a business contact or financially profitable to attend the Lutheran church. The young man became disillusioned and bitter. He later studied in London at the Reading Room of the British Museum and wrote that religion is the opiate of the people. Hamas was his name. One bit of cynicism and hypocrisy can make a world of difference. And one Christian on their knees before God with radical submission or plea for mercy, changed by that prayer, can change the world. Another man, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, in a prison camp in Siberia, realized that the line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between classes, nor between political parties either, but right through every human heart. Perhaps you remember the revolution that was not in Tiananmen Square in China. You do, I imagine the image that is burnt on your retina is that of one young man standing before a tank, shifting as it shifted, immovable in his resolution. The kind of courage that is required to proclaim the mercy of the gospel of Jesus Christ as the solution to the problems of our world, without the naivety that ignores the repressive structural evil, nor the hypocrisy that pretends that Christianity must not be lived as well as taught. That we who plead for mercy must have mercy, we who be forgiven must forgive. That sort of thoroughbred gospel, undiluted, clear, but fruitful and brave, the result of the heartfelt prayer of one broken, tired Israel on his knees before his master God, asking for mercy. Mercy for his captors, mercy for his oppressors, mercy for himself, that he not give in to the sweet deceit of bitterness. Mercy eternal, that the suffering we wish to alleviate if it is wrong to give people the gospel without giving them bread, it is also wrong to give people bread and expose the suffering of damnation. Or we could have alleviated that suffering through the proclamation of the gospel. But we have right. It is what by virtue of being made in the image of God, and we have responsibility. When the movie Titanic was being made, they showed people, of course, in that movie scrambling and fighting to get into the life raft, asserting themselves. What they did not show, for no one would have believed it today, was the historical reality agreed upon by all the accounts, that the men let the women go first with the children. And many of them simply stood and watched and gave themselves to drown, that others may be saved. You see, as we think of justice, we need to go further and think of mercy. Ask for it, and then give it to those around us to be a vehicle for their receiving gospel mercy too. That's Josh Moody. This is the guy. That's Josh the ethics and social quote. Shocked out. The line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between classes, or between political parties either, but right through every human heart. And we've been talking recently about how we are all related to the fallen that surrounds us. Perfect being. We have the world within us. The gospel is the solution, but there's also a sense that we need to own our part in the injustice in this world. Is that right? For sure, yeah. Again, that whole position quotes the line goes down every single human heart. and so we are not immune.